I remember a much more innocent time, a time before I plunged myself into a game that would inevitably destroy my life completely, leaving me a shell of the man that I once was. I have spent countless hours slaughtering not just the men, but the women and the children too. They're animals, so I just slaughtered them like animals, and I hate them. But to be specific, I mean the monsters. I'm not turning to the dark side yet. In all seriousness though, Monster Hunter Rise has some of the most addictive gameplay loops that I have ever come across in a video game, honestly. And I find it just so fascinating how I've never actually delved into the series up until the most recent entry, that being Monster Hunter Rise. It has now been 4 months since the game has released, and you would expect after 4 months that I would be a pro by now, but it's actually quite fascinating how I'm still finding out new and exciting tips and tricks about the game, such as special moves or the best place to strike an enemy, and also how to use the environment to your advantage thanks to the new implementation of the wire bug mechanic newly introduced with Rise. The wire bug makes traversal from monster to monster so much more fun and engaging than just running on foot. Instead, you can just swing like Tarzan through a dense forest. And I did find it much more of a freeing experience, as if a monster is a cavern away, you can just sling yourself across and be back in the action much quicker than just taking the long way round. And the freedom doesn't even stop there, as you can also utilise your Palamute, which is also a new addition to the series, as you can ride these adorable wolf-like creatures to whatever location you would like. Again, another point towards Monster Hunter Rise's use of fun traversal to get back into a fight quickly, rather than being knocked out and having to slowly run back to an enemy that you were just fighting. When I first bought Monster Hunter Rise, I instantly fell in love with the game and everything, and I mean everything that it had to offer, and so did my friends, as after watching me play, and true story, not even 2 hours after I booted up the game for the first time, all of my housemates bought the game, and let me tell you, that is where the fun really began. Monster Hunter Rise's fun factor is only accentuated through multiplayer, which is certainly the way to go for the most optimal experience, as having a group of friends playing in the same game as you only increases the fun and tension dramatically, as taking down a Magnamalo together was one of the most fun gaming memories I have had in the past year, as well as how we would always struggle to get out of the way of each other's attacks, and in the end always fighting over who got the final blow on the monster. And it's me, it is always me. One thing about Monster Hunter Rise that I really appreciated from the get-go is the amount of choice that the player has, and the vast diversity of weapon classes and armors that you can choose from, as at the start it was very overwhelming, but over time I've learnt how it all works. As at the very start of my playthrough, using different weapons was my main priority, as I wanted to find out which one suited me the best, and it certainly did take me a while, but I found out that the dual blades is my personal favourite. And I understand that there's not necessarily a lot of skill that is involved with the dual blades, but I appreciate the amount of manoeuvrability and speed that you have with those weapons. And to be honest, although I use the dual blades primarily, I find it very freeing not being tied down to just one weapon type, as throughout the game I could just swap to whatever weapon I would like. And there was no class system that locked me into having to stick with one specific weapon, which is so great. As all of my friends and I were using various different weapons, as me with the dual blades I had to go up close and personal with every monster that we were facing, whereas my friends were using weapons used for ranged attacks, and so they got to stand further away but potentially deal more damage. And this may sound stupid, but it was kinda nice not seeing everyone using the same weapon, although I can't promise your friends will do the same for you. The monsters in Rise are some of the most fun enemy encounters that I've had since completing the Soulsborne Die Twice series. Damn, is that really what I'm calling it now? And I'm not saying that Monster Hunter Rise is just the bosses from Dark Souls, but instead, much like in the Soulsborne Die Twice series, you have to really think methodically and tactfully about each encounter, as you can't just run in with no plan, as you may end up getting knocked out. Every monster in Rise plays so differently, and you would think that a game with so many monsters that you would see some repeat enemies or some repeat moves, but I'm very much glad to say that that is not the case, as every encounter is a puzzle that you have to solve. and because of this it really does help the replayability as you have such a variety of enemies to choose from. And this is where it all started to go downhill for me, not because the game had begun to get boring or anything like that, no, not at all. In fact, it was quite the opposite. From the day that I bought the game, I barely took it out of my Switch to play something else, and at first I thought, yes, this game is just so fun, but then playing it day after day turned into week after week and then month after month, and yes, it did become a tiny little bit of a problem, but being at uni I kind of had the time to do this. And every day, me and my housemates would load up our Switches, loading up Monster Hunter Rise again and again, and now all I hear is the menu screen music, that goddamn menu screen music. It's fine, I'm over it. And the thing is that Monster Hunter Rise just has so much to offer the player, and I do find that in this modern era of gaming, that is very hard to come across, as personally I found a game that I fell in love with, and for me that hadn't happened since I finished Death Stranding. Monster Hunter Rise really made me realise how fun games could actually be again. As of recently, I found it very hard to find a game that I could just delve into without even thinking about it, and I guess that Monster Hunter Rise just re-sparked that fire for me. And the factor that probably led me down this road is that I'd never played a game such like Monster Hunter Rise, as it was just so different from the looter shooters, FPSs and RPGs that I've been playing over the past year, and are genres that predominate the gaming market. And so really it was just a big breath of fresh air to play something with just such character, pizzazz and passion. Learning how Monster Hunter Rise works is one of the most satisfying things about the game, because it's not the most accessible thing in the world, as the hefty amounts of tutorials straight off the bat would certainly push people away, but sticking with it after the tutorials is just so gratifying, as defeating a monster can be a real challenge, and seeing that you've killed that monster that you've been stuck on for so long is just so rewarding, and it's just such a relieving occasion. And so this is my message to anyone who has seen the trailers or the gameplay or any other media about Monster Hunter Rise and you think it looks somewhat interesting. Honestly, pick up the game and give it a go, and stick with it for a little while, get through the tutorials. Because that's what I did. I took a chance on Rise, and now I genuinely think that I will pick up every mainline game in the series from here on out. And heck, you might even fall in love with it too. And that's everything I have to say on Monster Hunter Rise and how it somewhat ruined my life. And if you've played the game, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts on the game. But thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy, then subscribe, like, and turn on the notification button so you don't miss another upload from me. So thank you, and goodbye.